When I called my parents to invite them to my housewarming, I expected at least polite excitement. I'd rehearsed the moment in my head, imagining my mother asking about the view or my father joking about finally visiting something I owned. Instead, my mom laughed softly and said, "A housewarming? That sounds a bit like showing off." Before I could respond, my dad chimed in. "We're not really in the mood for that kind of thing right now." I paused, feeling something familiar tighten in my chest. I asked plainly, "So, will you come?" There was a brief silence before my father answered, "Probably not. We've got other commitments." He didn't say what they were. He didn't explain. That was the moment it finally landed. There was no level of success that would make them celebrate me. My name is Isabella. I'm 33 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been chasing my parents' approval like it was a finish line that kept moving. I'm the oldest child, the responsible one, the achiever. I founded a software company in my mid-20s, built it from nothing but an idea and long nights, grew it for 7 relentless years, and took it public last year. The IPO valued the company at $600 million. I still own a significant stake. I didn't inherit this, I didn't marry into it, I built it. Yet somehow, even that wasn't enough. Growing up, my parents loved telling people about me, at least in theory. I was their brilliant daughter, the one they mentioned proudly at dinner parties. But the pride only existed as long as my success stayed abstract. The moment it became real, tangible, bigger than them, something shifted. My younger brother, who's 28, has tried and failed at 5 different business ventures. Each time, my parents rush in with encouragement, money, and reassurance. "Failure is part of the journey," they tell him. "You just need one more chance." With me, the message was always different. I was told to be careful, to not get ahead of myself, to earn everything the hard way. When I bought the oceanfront villa, a $6 million property overlooking the water, it wasn't about flexing or proving anything. It was a private milestone, a reward for years of risk, stress, and sacrifice. I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be something they'd be proud of. Instead, they criticized it. My mom said I was changing. My dad worried aloud that sudden wealth never ends well. They talked about money like it was something shameful, like my success was a betrayal of the person I used to be. I wasn't born into privilege. I created something they never could, and instead of pride, it stirred resentment. I planned the housewarming for 2 months. It wasn't just a party, it was a celebration of survival, growth, and independence. I invited around 200 people, friends who'd supported me, colleagues who'd believed in my vision, industry leaders, extended family. I hired an acclaimed chef because I wanted the night to feel special. The house itself, perched above the ocean, did most of the work. Watching the sunset from the terrace felt like proof that the struggle had meant something. I called my parents personally because, despite everything, I still hoped they'd show up. I wanted them there. I wanted them to see what I'd built. Instead, I got vague excuses and quiet disapproval. When my mom called the house extravagant and wasteful, it felt like a slap. I'd earned every inch of it. That was when I accepted they weren't coming. 3 days before the party, my brother posted on social media, "Family dinner with mom and dad tonight, feeling grateful for their guidance and support." The date caught my eye immediately. It was the same night as my housewarming. At the time, I didn't know he'd done it intentionally, that he'd invited them specifically to pull them away from my event. All I knew was that once again, they'd chosen him. At the party, several guests asked about my parents. Some were genuinely curious, others surprised they weren't there. One elderly aunt asked if there'd been an emergency. I smiled and said they had prior commitments. Covering for them felt humiliating, but old habits die hard. The night itself was unforgettable. The ocean glowed under the fading light, champagne flowed, people laughed and danced on my deck. Local media showed up. Photos from the event ended up in lifestyle magazines. Business outlets ran features about the tech founder and her oceanfront home. It was everything I'd hoped for, and everything my parents missed. They called the next day, upset, not because they hadn't been there for me, but because they hadn't been seen. "Why didn't you tell us it was such a big event?" my dad asked. "We could have stopped by." My mom said my brother told them it was going to be low-key, that I didn't really want attention. They never apologized for not coming. Instead, they asked who attended, what influential people were there, whether I mentioned them. It was clear they were more upset about missing the spotlight than missing my milestone. A month later, at a family brunch with about 25 relatives, my brother announced he was starting another business. My parents lit up. They praised his courage, announced they were funding it, and told him how proud they were. When the conversation turned to me, it shifted instantly. My dad dismissed my IPO as luck. My mom warned me not to spend too much, implying I couldn't manage my own money. When a cousin asked about my company's valuation, my dad cut in to say tech companies were inflated anyway. No one congratulated me. The spotlight stayed firmly on my brother's potential. Then came the phone call. My parents needed $500,000 to help my brother's new venture. "You have the means," my mom said casually. "Family helps family," my dad added. When I hesitated, he reminded me of everything they'd sacrificed for my education. My brother texted me as if the money was already his, thanking me in advance. That's when it finally clicked. To them, my success wasn't something to celebrate, it was a resource to be extracted. I stopped answering immediately. I started documenting everything: old emails, dismissive comments, financial pressure. I spoke with my mentor, Diana, who'd watched my family undermine me for years. She told me plainly, "They're threatened by you." My therapist confirmed what I was seeing: a pattern of minimization and manipulation. When a major publication reached out to do a feature on my journey, I said yes. I didn't want revenge. I wanted honesty. Before it ran, I called my parents and told them I wouldn't be lending any money. The explosion that followed only confirmed my decision. I told them the article was coming and that I'd told the truth. I didn't argue. I hung up. The article went live and spread quickly. My story resonated with people who'd built success despite emotional neglect. My parents were furious, not because of what they'd done, but because people knew. They asked me to retract it. I refused. Eventually, silence followed. In that quiet, I built a life grounded in respect, not obligation. Months later, through therapy, my parents admitted things they'd never said before: that my success intimidated them, that they expected more from me and treated me harsher because of it. I set boundaries and made it clear they were non-negotiable. I stopped trying to shrink myself to make others comfortable. I stopped funding people who didn't support me. I learned that the best kind of success isn't the one that finally earns approval, it's the one that sets you free. If you've ever had to celebrate yourself because no one else would, you're not alone. Your success is real, and it's worth honoring, even if you're the first one to do it.